Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm quite excited to talk about this topic, the metaverse, NFT, blockchains, etc., opportunities as well as security challenges. I've never spent much time in the gaming community, so this was quite new to me, but I did go and visit a virtual world just the other day to get a feel for it. I also went to register at Roblox and go and try and visit a online or virtual yoga studio. So far, my avatar has hardly managed to get off the platform. I actually fell off and nearly drowned my poor avatar. So I'm still learning, but yes, I'm going to share some of the findings with you in terms of this whole ecosystem. So when we think about the security industries, which is where I'm coming from, then we have to keep in mind that cybersecurity people are skeptics by nature. I think that's why we choose to sort of go into that field, with the crypto community and NFTs and all of that. They may be more on the creative side, and obviously there's a bit of a backlash even between those two communities. If you follow it on Twitter, InfoSec, on Twitter, for example, you can see a lot of not so nice jokes, and a lot of cybersecurity professionals questioning the whole industry. And I think from my point of view, the message really is that even though you may be a skeptic of the field, but so far at least, cryptocurrency, smart contracts, the DeFi world, all of that is not going to go away anytime soon. And as IT professionals or security professionals, we have to actually get into this field, understand it more, understand it better, and help our companies to, if they want to, invest in it or explore it, to do it in a safe manner. From my point of view, if I had to define the metaverse, it really is more of a concept, something that is maybe in parts already here, in other parts more sort of a future ideology. But if I had to describe it, then it's a little bit like an umbrella term, similar to what the internet was in the 90s. And that consists of a couple of sub areas, one of them being the extended reality field, so virtual reality, augmented reality, the sort of innovation and the pace that's happening in that field, the fact that we can now as consumers purchase Oculus devices of the whole set for about $300 really means that it's becoming mainstream. In fact, I think Oculus sold more sets than Microsoft's Xbox did last year. So it's becoming more of a thing that you will probably see in kids' sort of bedrooms. That combined with the ability to go into different virtual worlds, obviously spearheaded by the gaming community, but there's a lot of other worlds as well. Like I mentioned, the yoga community, for example. Underlying all of that is the decentralized nature of the blockchain infrastructure. And on top of that, Web3, or sort of the assets and tokens that are being used to exchange goods or content in these worlds. And all of these together make up what's called the metaverse magic. And there's a few design principles also that come into play. For example, compared to Web 2 or the existing internet, the ideology really in the metaverse is to build software in a composable structure, meaning that somebody can take your piece of code, build onto it, reuse it, take it from one universe or one virtual world into another one. In practical terms, that means if you buy an asset in one game, you could then take that sword or that outfit into another universe. It belongs to you and not the platform. And that really is one of the biggest differentiators compared to the current setup, is that we're talking about a decentralized model where content creators and people who purchase the assets actually own the assets, not the platform providers, as it is at the moment with your Facebooks and the social media, or Meta in the social media space, as well as SoundCloud, etc., for creative content providers. In terms of business opportunities, apart from, and we may say, more speculative investment side, there's a lot of other opportunities that are sort of materializing. Obviously, content creation, one of them, but also the gaming in itself, like play to earn, is quite a big thing, particularly in the Philippines. The whole finance space, DeFi, virtual concerts, advertising, art galleries, and even from a corporate point of view, it may be that I can't see us like being fully immersed the whole time, but there will be pockets of it where we may tap into this this metaverse or these virtual worlds and make use of components of it. In terms of the overall market sort of size, again, different sources will give you very different and very disparate numbers. So I think all of those need to be taken with a pinch of salt. However, I think the message here really is there is a lot of investment, a lot of money being spent, and we need to somewhat take it seriously and not just write it off as a hype or a fad. Now, if we look at it from a infrastructure or how it actually is put together, you have the user level that interacts with some sort of distributed app front end. And then the back end sort of consists of smart contracts, which are really tiny pieces of code that contain the logic that in itself then are stored on the blockchain. Because obviously the blockchain being quite, sort of economically inefficient, if I may say it that way, we can't store anything big on there because it has to be stored in this decentralized fashion on thousands, millions of nodes. So what you find is that there is still quite a lot of interaction with the Web 2 or the existing internet, where, for example, you may have a smart contract defining your NFT, and that smart contract points to the actual NFT asset that might be hosted on Amazon or somewhere else. Also, the companies that provide the front end, they have to engage with their users. They often then use websites that are hosted again somewhere on the existing internet. They use third parties like chat applications to interact with their customers. And all of these interactions provide opportunities for cyber criminals to jump in, intercept, and commit fraud. And so far, we've seen about $12 billion being lost to the DeFi platform providers. In 2021, the total loss, including sort of fraud targeted at individuals, was about 14 billion US dollars, or at least that's cryptocurrencies that were received by illicit addresses or fraudulent addresses. So cyber criminals cashing in on actions. In terms of the security risks, I'm not going to delve into each of those. I'm sure we can share the slides with you, but there are plenty. On each of those layers, as I mentioned, from the user level, social engineering, very much a thing. A lot of the NFT investors are being targeted specifically because they're seen as a little bit more susceptible to fraudsters and scammers, to sort of bugs that consist on the platform side or on the smart contracts, including the blockchain itself. A lot of blockchain evangelists will say, oh, it's the most secure environment. It's not. There's also bugs that have been found on the blockchain itself. And as I said, like the integration with the surrounding ecosystem and the surrounding sort of third parties and different areas that you need to engage with, interact with, that's where a lot of the fraud and the actual opportunity for scammers will come into place. Also here, just an example, OpenSea admitted that 80% of their NFTs are scams or spams and fraud. I'm not trying to write this all off as being just bad, not at all. I think that we just need to be aware of the opportunities for security vulnerabilities, for cyber criminals to take advantage, and to make our decision makers aware of that, to be on top of it, to research it, educate if we do end up being involved in it, and educating our developers to write smart contracts in a secure way, get it audited, and then also keeping the users aware in terms of how to protect themselves. And if your company does invest in any sort of metaverse project, make sure that the security team is part of it from day one.